Culturally Clueless.
All right, you guys. So the heist in Paris, 7 people came for the jewels in the Louvre. Those jewels that were probably stolen, most likely stolen from a different place, and they've been showcased in the Louvre for so long. And now, due to construction work, 7 people managed to get in that gallery where these jewels, hundreds of millions worth of jewels, are housed, and they just took them. They just took him and fled. But the Louvre has reopened again, and Paris is back to business. Well, would you say that's karma? With that said, welcome to Culturally Clueless.
People talking loud, everybody's got a tape. Scrolling through the headlines, don't know what's real or fake. Late night conversations, what's the truth we chase? World keeps changing pace, but we're all in the race.
What up, you guys? And welcome to a brand new episode this week. I am all by myself, as you can see. I hope you guys really enjoyed last week's episode. It was a very important episode to me anyway, because I think that this story is one of many stories. And this Fatima is, I was going to say this person, but I chose to say her name. Yes, Fatima is somebody who decided to stand up and fire back and speak out about it. And this is very important. We definitely need people like her, especially in this climate where a lot of people just hide behind their keyboards and hide behind their phone screens or laptop screens or tablet screens, or I don't know what screens. Okay. So I just think that when people are out there in the open, they deserve a lot of support. She is a beautiful personality, and she got an amazing mindset. So now, no, you guys, I never really watch my episodes, right? But every time when I get these shorts, sometimes I don't want to post them because how is it that I start almost every sentence with so? Did you guys ever notice that I start almost all the time with the word so? Damn, my vocabulary must be very, very limited these days. Anywho, you guys are absolutely amazing, and I love all of y'all, and thank you so much for the support every week. So let's get to it, because today it's going to be a very almost one-sided episode. We have a lot of Israel and Palestine topics. I think we have only 2 different ones, and the rest is all. Oh my gosh. What can I say? It just happened. It just happened to be this way, right? I don't purposely go this way where I just want to talk about this. And it's very consuming situation because it is a very, ooh, what happened? Let me see. Something happened here. Okay. I think nothing happened here. I think all is well. What happened? Notice. Okay. So you guys, yeah, I don't know. My laptop is just tripping. I don't know what it is. I hope it's nothing serious. It just said I was muted, but don't do that to me. Do not do that to me. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, I should be okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I should be okay. Let me go back to my notes because I need to use my notes. I'm so funny, right? Am I not? So funny. Okay, let's talk about the ceasefire, right? That supposed ceasefire, this whole hoax of a ceasefire. This business deal that Trump and a lot of people attended. We talked about it briefly last week. The ceasefire deal was indeed violated. Of course, Israel is blaming Hamas to have assassinated 4 IDF soldiers. Hamas saying that's not how it went down. There was some explosive left, and these people just like drove over these explosive and blew up. So of course they had a very good reason in their mind to strike. They violated, mind you, this October 10 was the day of the ceasefire deal, right? That's when they closed the deal. And today I'm recording is the 23rd. So it's not even fully like 2 weeks. It's 13 days. This episode is going to air in 2 days. So you guys, it's going to be even more. So we're still counting. But so far, the Israelis violated the ceasefires 80 times. There's almost 100 people were already killed, over 230 injured. And what can I say? Aid has been blocked. We're going to get to this in a bit later. So what they're saying now, they can't move over to phase two, because phase two, this is just waiting for Hamas to disarm. And they are now like, I think JD Vance is in in Israel, together with Jared Kushner. And again, this is Steve Whitcutt is there as well. Actually, I think he went with Jared, and the other dude, I don't know, he went there by himself. A couple of people are in Israel right now, or were in Israel. I don't know if they left by the time this airs. So we will talk about this also a little bit later. But anyway, so they want Hamas to disarm. These people are there for different reasons, a bit all type of business deals, property, real estate, everything, you know. And it's also about reconstructing Gaza. But again, to that a little bit more. What they're also negotiating now, Israel and Egypt, is the Rafah crossing, right? What is going to happen? Because I think Israel want Egypt to retrieve and basically remove the military or its military from the border, which is 260 kilometers. So it's a fairly huge border. Yeah, you guys. And I actually see, and I wanted to talk about it, and this was pretty, I didn't know how to go about it. So I can just like tell you what it is right now and how things are right now, and I can't really get into all the ins and outs, because I always want to know more. I don't want to just like jump on every little bit of news that's out there, because I find this sometimes to be very dangerous, because there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So I rather wait. Right now, this is what it is. And you know, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about how things are happening and going down in Gaza. And to me personally, I just never believed in a ceasefire, because we had ceasefire violations in Lebanon. We had them in Gaza as well, beginning of the year. So this was not really promising. I know a lot of people thought it would be making a difference because Trump is part of it. And now all of these mediators and all of these people that are overlooking this. But honestly, you can monitor this as much as you want, but there's two different things. It's like their actions and what they're saying and portraying to the world are two different languages, right? It's like they speak English, but they act, I don't know even what to say. They act Israeli. I don't know any other like this very violent, like brutal entity. You know what I mean? So it kind of like goes hand in hand, actually, speaking English and acting Israeli. Yeah. All right. So oh my gosh, sorry for the noise. I know I'm making way too much noise. I know. There is a big statement. Actually, I wanted to start with this. There is a big statement from back in the day that was made, and I want you guys to check this out.
Nabil Shah.
It was the Zionist organizations in Palestine that invented terrorism. First letter bombs were used by the Israelis. The first electronic bombs were used by the Israelis. The hanging of people from trees was used by the Israelis. And Israeli gangs of the Stern and Irgun became so notorious in the world.
Okay, so this is a huge statement, right? It talked about terrorism, that it was invented by Israel, like hanging from the trees. I can tell you, hanging from the trees is something that was used in ancient times already. So I'm not quite sure if Israel really invented it or reintroduced it or reinvented it. You know what I mean? like brought it back to life, right? And I was very interested about this part of like invention of terrorism. This is indeed a Western thing, believe it or not. It is a Western thing. Now it is associated with Islam for the most part, right? For the most part, it's always is Islamist, radical Islam, all of these words that don't exist, but somehow they made them exist. Somehow they made them gain traction and mean something to people. But hey, okay. So the first time, right? The very, very first time, apparently, terrorism was used was in 1793 to 1794. And this was during the French Revolution, which started in 1789. Okay, and they called it Reign of Terror. So, for those who don't know what happened, what the French Revolution was all about, what happened, is that the civilians at that time did an uprising, okay, because to the monarchy, to the upper class, to the upper society and upper people, basically to the government, because they wanted equality, they wanted a more just system. So it's basically the same thing that is going on right now, and we all know the French, they know how to um how to make a revolution. People are scared of the intifada, the West at least, and they always talk about, oh my gosh, global intifada, whatever intifada and another intifada. But honestly, the French Revolution, y'all don't want the French people to protest, okay? I think that's what I was saying, like in the beginning. I was like, you know what, the French should go to Palestine and stand, on business over there, because they know how to protest. French protests and demonstrations, when the French rise, it's not funny. Okay, it's not funny. Anywho, so the people back then, they wanted, as I said, a fair system. They wanted equality, and they decided that they're going to, stand up, get up, and speak up. And that's what happened. And the government back then, the monarchy, the government, everybody involved who was ruling and regulating things and who was in charge of everything, they decided to use terror as a method to basically curve the situation, calm everybody down, and not even like in a nice way, but instill fear into people. Okay, and this is like, I always said that there is a good few weapons that they use against us successfully in many different ways without us even realizing this. Like, fear is one of the most ugliest weapon you can use, right? Fear is something, instilling fear in people is something that is absolutely debilitating. It's absolutely, it can definitely, it would make most people back down and shut up. You know what I mean? So this is why fear is such an extreme weapon. So in the next time it came back, apparently in the 19th century with the anarchists, right? The anarchists, they were called a radical group who believed in the abolishment of government. So they didn't want a government, and all of this, you guys, is Europe. All of this started in Europe, right? The anarchists, the French Revolution, the word terror is again from 1793 to 1794. They called it the Reign of Terror. Okay, so and then with the anarchists, and which also happened in Europe, and then we have in the 1940s. How we saw in the video, we have the terror groups like Stern Gang, Ergoons, and Haganah, and a couple more, and they later on now became the IDF, right? So I found this very interesting because they were internationally recognized terror groups, right, by the UK, just generally internationally recognized terror groups, right? And the first time, or one of the very first time, terrorism was actually associated with Islam was in the 1970s, the Iranian Revolution, and some other little or bigger events, I want to say, right? And then obviously we know what happened after 9/11 and so on and so forth. We don't have to go into details with this right now because you guys know what it is. And this is the thing. This is exactly the thing. It is so much before or so much earlier before that the word terrorism or terrorist was associated with Islam or was kind of like made to be the brand of Islam, right? Because this is when a lot of, especially like Western people hear Islam, they're automatically think of terror because this is how they've been brainwashed, with all of these things that are going on, all of these events, all of these groups that have been created, Al Qaeda, and so. Although it is also admitted by Western politicians, for example, Hillary Clinton and so on, that Al Qaeda and stuff was their creation. But most people wouldn't see that. Most people wouldn't hear that because it's not something that has been majorly pushed in legacy media. And you guys, we have so many, and you can even read it. There's over 900 children, from Palestinian children, who have written testimonies about their treatment by the IDF in prison. There are interviews, there are countless testimonies by Palestinians and some non-Palestinians that happen to be also arrested by the IDF and spend time in prison. There were the people from the flotillas, and one testimony just really caught my attention, not because it was different from other testimonies, not because it stood out. It was one of the it's still, and before anyone says something wrong, I'm not diminishing this person's experience. I'm not minimizing it, but compared to what other people gone through and are going through, it is less violent. But it stood out to me for a different reason. But let's watch this and talk about it some more.
This Israeli soldier said to me, "Remove your skirt." Said no. And then two of the Israeli men advanced forward. And I thought, my God, they're going to pull my skirt off. And she shouted again, "Remove your skirt." And
okay, I wonder if I'm the only one that, took note of it, or if anyone thought like, oh, okay. We always talk about male IDF soldiers. Most of the time, if not all the time, we talk about male soldiers. Yes, there are some reports and little documentaries where we can see IDF female soldiers also, doing the dirty work. But for the most part, it's men. It's male soldiers, right? And we also talked and mentioned at some point some time ago about the male IDF soldiers to treatment of the female soldiers when it comes to sexual abuse and stuff like that. And this is not what I want to talk about, but this is a case here of a very like degrading, condescending sexual attack on this person here, and in a very ugly way, involving another woman. And I just want to point out that there is no difference. That there is no difference in the way that IDF male soldiers or female soldiers treat. Like, it's always, women are known to be compassionate, empathetic, more sympathetic, softer, very feminine. You wouldn't expect a woman to participate in these type of things. And yes, this happens, and quite regularly, and not just in the occupational state, or in the colonial state. It happens in other places as well. Sexualized violence and sexualized degrading people is always a very, very, very strong weapon, and this is very unfortunate that sex plays such, and it's very uncomfortable to talk to me about. So everybody, I'm so sorry, but we need to have these conversations. We actually really do need to have these conversations. Sex is something that is also very much weaponized and instrumentalized in every situation, whether you want to sell a product, whether you want to sell an artist, whether you want to, like adverts, they always have to have a certain sex appeal. But it's also like sexualized violence is also a thing, especially in war zones. Like out of all times, you would never think that people are going through a genocide, especially in this is not, I'm just not talking about Gaza. I'm not talking just about Palestine on a whole, because it happens in the West Bank as well. I'm also talking about the Congo. I'm also talking about Sudan. I'm also talking about Haiti. I'm talking about past wars, past genocides, right? How much this actually plays a role. And this is baffling to me. All right, you guys. So I'm telling you, pivoting is hard sometimes, but we have to do it because what can I do? What can I do? It is what it is. Now we'll say that. I hate pivoting, but it has to happen, right? We want to talk about, again, something, legacy media, the role of legacy media, what it has become, what it is, how people look at it. There's still a lot of people still going to legacy media to receive their news, and they still listen, although we know there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there, right? So much, too much. And I can only say this is something that I'm very happy about, that citizen journalism became a thing, that social media became a thing, because nevertheless, we have to make sure that we fact check, right? We have to make sure that we go and actually Google things. And I know sometimes it can be very annoying, because it's just like, oh my gosh, do I have to look into everything? But it is what it is, because it is, again, it is a weapon. Spreading misinformation and disinformation is a weapon, and it's used very successfully. And they even spending millions and billions of dollars yearly in a propaganda machine to sell the misinformation and to push the disinformation. And we cannot allow to fall for this, right? And there is this company called Ofcom, and they conducted an investigation, because they kind of like, basically, they are the handlers of the UK media. Okay, so there are certain guidelines that the media has to obey by, apparently, allegedly, but things have changed, because obviously when certain narratives are pushed in the media, or the media is pushed to feed the public certain narratives, is something that is getting actually worse and worse and worse over time, especially over the past 2 years. 2 years, that would be beautiful. 2 years, and actually much, much longer. Like misinformation, disinformation has been around since forever, but the amount and the way it is forced upon us is just crazy, right? So anyways, Ofcom is the company that is, as I said, the handler of the UK media, and they conducted this information, and they ruled that something with the BBC basically had to publicly apologize, and they ruled that the BBC misled the public. And guess what? There was this documentary, right? It came out, I believe it was last year, about the life in Gaza, specifically about the life of the children in Gaza. And it was narrated by a 13-year-old boy by the name of Abdullah Al-Yazuri. And the BBC failed to disclose to the public that Abdullah al-Yazuri is a son of a Hamas official. This is, of course, a huge crime that the BBC media outlet committed. We cannot leave this unpunished. We have to air them out. We have to expose them. We have to make it public that there is no way that they can produce this documentary about the children in Gaza and have this 13-year-old boy by the name of Abdullah al-Yazuri have this narrated by this kid, and not mention that he happens to have a dad who is a Hamas official. That even makes him not a kid. That makes him not one of the children who deserve to tell their story of their life and what they're going through in Gaza, because he is the son of Hamas. So there is no way. There's no way. Something needs to happen here. Something needs to be done. This is absolutely failure. It's disgusting. I don't know how the BBC could have done this and why people allowed this, while 200 journalists and workers who work for the BBC have been writing letters that they are not okay with the push of the Israeli propaganda narrative over the past 2 years, and they have complained, and some have resigned, others have spoken up and have been fired. But honestly, I'm sorry, there's no way. There's just no way that they could have this documentary. I mean, I'm so glad they pulled it, because can you guys imagine what it would have cost? Like this 13-year-old, he's not a kid. And he doesn't live in, I mean, he lives in Gaza, yeah, granted, but he's a Hamas official son. Like, how could you? Why would you let someone like that narrate this documentary?
The UK media regulator Ofcom has ruled that the BBC committed a serious breach of broadcasting rules by failing to disclose that the narrator of a documentary about Gaza was the son of a Hamas official. An Ofcom investigation into Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone, has concluded that the programme misled viewers. The watchdog says our investigation found that the programme's failure to disclose that the narrator...
Okay, moving on right away. Moving on, right? Because what else is there to say, right? Would you guys please condemn the BBC in the comments for me? Because I think we need to take a stance here. Like we need to say something, because this is really bad and unacceptable. Another thing that is definitely very unacceptable. So the US, the West on a whole, but particularly the US, they have been very busy in the past because somebody had to become a lab rat, right? Like at some point we need to do human experiments. You can test things on animals, like you can have your guinea pigs, your rats, your mice, your whatever's, right? But at some point there has to be human trial. And they love to do this in the West a lot, and especially like in minority groups, for example, on Bikini Atoll, right? Check this out.
Did you know the U.S. government told an entire population they could return home, then watch them die from radiation poisoning? In 1946, Bikini Atoll residents were forced to evacuate for nuclear bomb tests. 11 years later, officials declared their island safe and brought them back. But it was all a lie. Within months, children started developing massive thyroid tumors.
You see, you guys, so this is crazy. Like they put all of this, they basically put nuclear on this place, they nuked that place, all this radioactive, sickening and very poisonous stuff on the population of this place. And just to document what is their reaction. What is the illness? What is the outcome? Where does this go from here? What can we do about it? We're not going to do something about it because it's not that we need to heal the people or give them some medicine to make them better. No. We need to watch and observe and document and record. This is all we're here for. All right. So Bikini Atoll, for those who don't know, is in the Marshall Islands, right? So again, it is a minority, it's dark-skinned people. And there is a number of nuclear testings that happened in that region and many other regions at that time. And this was in the mid 1900s, right? 1940s, 1950s. And before that, I mean, African Americans have been victim to this type of atrocity and torture as well. For example, the Tuskegee studies is one of the very famous ones, right? And this is again where they it's very unethical, and what they have done is Black men who had or were suffering from the disease, the syphilis disease, they were just left to die basically and dissolve, or like rotten slowly, to watch it, although they were trying to kind of like find a medicine for it. At some point they had the medicine, and they done this test, they conducted this kind of testing with the syphilis somewhere else. We're going to get to this in a minute. So this is something that went down quite regularly. There was also like historically proven forced sterilization of Black women, right, and Latino women and indigenous women in the 1920s, right? And the U.S., it wasn't enough for them. They had to go elsewhere as well. For example, they did this whole thing in Guatemala. Let's check this out.
You want to know how dirty America plays? In the late 40s, the U.S. government went to Guatemala, and they straight up infected people with syphilis. Soldiers, prisoners, mental patients, even kids in orphanages, and nobody told them. This wasn't medicine, it wasn't treatment. This was human beings being turned into lab rats. The U.S. Public Health Service flew in. They brought sex workers who already had the disease and forced them on men that were locked up in prisons and barracks. And when that wasn't spreading fast enough, they cut people open and rubbed the bacteria into their wounds. They would inject it directly.
I said Guatemala was not the only place, right? How they infected people. They brought sex workers, people. That is sick. That is actually sick. They brought these people over. And if that wasn't enough, they opened people up and wrapped the bacteria, like they literally put it in their bodies. I mean, seriously? And then they had the penicillin, penicillin, and they didn't want to give them the treatment to make them better. It's so insane. And this is why we can't be surprised how much or how little human life means, right? In a very particular personal case, I have been told humans are just the number on their ID card, passport. So another thing that is not often talked about, and that is also something that happened in Egypt as well. Like this was conducted in Egypt, and this is not like where the U.S. calls, let's say, Egypt or any of the African countries and says, hi, we would like to come and we would like to use your people as lab rats and for human trials or human experiments, and we would like to, this is not how it works, right? There is certain NGOs, charity organizations that want to help people with in need with medical stuff and other things. So they go to these countries, and this is how things basically go down, right? And in Egypt, it was also about like, controlling the population, the family planning as well. This thing happened, as I said, also a little bit in the Middle East as well. When we talk about like, the colony, with the Ethiopian women who were given shots to not be able to procreate, with to make them infertile. Then we do know about the Yemeni babies that were abducted at birth, and they were told, their real parents have been told that they have been indeed They have died. And these people have just took these babies and gave them to other families with a wider skin tone so that they can integrate and mix in over time. And these people are finding out much, much later in their lives when they're grown-ups about what happened to them. And some of them are able to track down their parents and actually meet them. And this is a very heavy burden for someone to carry, I'm not gonna lie, right? Yeah. So this is something that is actually insane. Literally insane. I don't know what more there is to say about this, but it's very inhumane, right? It's very, very inhumane. And this whole thing with Guatemala, going back to that, we only found out 15 years ago in 2010 because a historian happened to come across these hidden files from the 40s and 50s. And this is crazy. Since we're speaking about Guatemala, let's stay. Okay, Guatemala is in Central America. Shout out to my friend Valeria, who always tells me that. And I still say to her, oh my God, South America, ignorant, I know. But let's go a little bit, stay in that region and go a little bit deeper. And Trump, obviously, he has like a new playground. He is creating a new story, like he's rewriting something that the West loves doing, you know, like create a narrative, invent a reason, tell a bunch of lies, make up a story. Like they are the best storytellers, especially when it comes to instigating, when it comes to everything negative, basically, especially wars, especially invasions, colonizing other countries. We talked about the situation in Venezuela, how they want to take Venezuela over. It's very interesting, again, how we talked about last week, Maria Corina Machado, what is it? Yeah, I think that's her name, right? Machado. She won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she's talking about that we need to make it like an open source, an open business, international people to come in and basically, you know, because they have a lot of resources. Venezuela has a lot of resources. And one thing that the world is always after and the West is always after is oil. It's always oil, 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 oil. And you can never have enough of it. And as I always like to put it, these people, they're not like us. They don't grocery shop for a week in advance or 3 days in advance. They shop for decades in advance, right? They want to make sure that they have a sustainable and everlasting go-to, right? And the places with the most resources, I'm sorry, but they're not in the West. So yeah, they go and they take them because they feel entitled to. And this is the whole thing that is happening and has been happening. And now he authorized the CIA to target Venezuela.
Why did you authorize the CIA to go into Venezuela? And is there more information you can share about these strikes on the alleged?
Well, I can't do that, but I authorized for two reasons, really. Number one, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. They came in through the border. They came in because we had an open border policy. And as soon as I heard that, I said, a lot of these countries, they're not the only country, but they're the worst abuser. And they've entered they've
Isn't that insane? He literally, he's talking about the open border policy, and he's accusing them of bringing over drugs and all of this stuff and messing up the U.S. And that's what I mean. Like, he's creating the story. He's trying to feed the story to the public. And like always, this is what the most of the public swallows, right? He's creating a narrative, so he has an excuse to strike. Now, he didn't want to answer this question. Somebody asked him, is the CIA even able? And basically, should they be doing this?
The Trump administration ramping up pressure on Venezuela with some of the most aggressive moves against a nearby nation in more than 40 years. U.S. strikes have sunk 5 boats the U.S. says were from Venezuela. Officials claim they were carrying drugs, though there is no firm evidence of that. Now, President Trump says he's told the CIA to start operating inside Venezuela.
The CIA has not commented so far, but you're right. President Trump confirmed he authorized the agency to go into Venezuela to conduct covert action. Now he says the U.S. military may expand its operations.
So there are 8 U.S. military warships in that region. There is a nuclear submarine. There are fighter jets in Puerto Rico. And so far, 27 people have been killed. And there are little strikes and fights happening. It's all in water, so it's all in the sea. He's saying that they are controlling the sea, but he's looking for land. You guys, this guy said we got the sea under control, and now it's time to control the land. This is insane. That's what I know this is another thing that I do always. I use the word insane, wild, crazy, but it is. It really is. I don't know why I'm always like so taken aback by their actions or by these new stories and new ideas that they create and invent to give them good and great reasons in their mind to go and attack another nation, another place, because they feel entitled to other people's resources. And here's the thing. I highly doubt that there is any country in the world that wouldn't be interested in conducting proper business with anyone, right? But they feel like they're above this. They wouldn't go to a country like Venezuela or like the Congo or like Haiti or any other Congo with great resources and say, hey, I would like to purchase this and that from you, and I am willing to pay XYZ. Let's negotiate. That never happens because they feel they are above this. They don't need to. If they want something, they go and take it like a spoiled little rich kid. And I hate, these kids that just feel like they're entitled to take everything and everyone, and they never learn from their parents that you don't own everything. This is not all yours. And just because you got it and you got a lot of money, that doesn't mean that you got the right to just go and take everything. And this is exactly how they're acting, these little spoiled children that never learned anything about values and manners. Okay, there's a lot of human rights experts that are warning. They say this is violation of international law, but again, these people, they are above international law. I mean, we see what Israel is doing. Israel, they are the chosen people, so international law, what is this? It doesn't apply to them. And the Western countries think like that. I think, how they said the ICC exists, or the ICJ exists, so that they can arrest, or they can prosecute global southern leaders or criminals or whatever, but it has nothing to do with the West. Oh my gosh, it's crazy how the tables start turning, or the cards start turning, however they say it, right? Anyways, this is a big issue. This is going to be a big issue because he wants land and he's not going to stop. You know what I mean? And there is a $15 million. This is what the U.S. loves to spend money on, because they're thinking this is an investment into the future. There is a $15 million bounty on Maduro. Maduro is the president of Venezuela, for those who still don't know. And this $15 bounty is on his capture. Like, they want him. Okay, so if somebody can deliver him, they will get that 15 million euros. I mean, not euros. What is wrong, bro? $15 million, right? In euros, it's actually a little bit more. Now, the president, Nicolas Maduro, he is not sitting still. We all know that he is mobilized his troops. He's mobilized all the military. He mobilized all the voluntary civilians, and it's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. He is ready, and he had this to say:
"Not war, not war, not war. Just peace, just peace, just peace. Forever, forever, forever. Peace forever. No crazy war. No crazy war. No crazy war. Please, please, please. Yes, peace. Peace peace forever, peace forever.
And even the neighbor countries are kind of like scared because the CIA has been overthrowing governments in Southern America. They have been executing coups over there. So yes, with rightfully so, they are upset and angry, and they are scared because you come for one, you might come for 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 more. Okay, you guys, so let's talk about some celebrities, okay? Because some of the celebrities, we all know, like, for the most part, they've been very quiet, right? About the ongoing genocide, about everything. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's so many, like, celebrities who participate in charity because it looks good for them. A lot of them have foundations, NGOs. I mean, it's like, helps with the tech situation. And I don't want to say that nobody's doing nothing good or nobody's interested in actually helping and doing anything good, because that wouldn't be true. We see that there is some really good things happening, done and funded by celebrities, right? No matter if it's like a good, like, tax thing or whatever, but there is people who have, like, who do things off of their own back, or with a pure heart. But when you talk about this ongoing genocide, you get silenced, your career is gone, and a lot of people have enough. I saw an actress recently saying, I love acting, this is my safe place, this is what I can do best, but I cannot be silent either. You know what I mean? So we have some celebrities who are speaking out. Miguel was recently on the Breakfast Club, and he had this to say.
There's a genocide happening right now. There is a genocide happening right now. And I have to say it again. There is a genocide happening right now. And it's public. It's not like it's like a century ago where we were getting news from the radio. This is real time on your phone. And there's so much happening right now that you could just scroll past it. Like, we can ignore it. There's a lot of anger in this album.
And the reason why I love so much what he had to say is because to put this on your album, he said there's so much anger on his album. It just shows that it's genuine, because this is how people feel. There are so many people who do things with so much anger in them because of how things are going, and we feel so powerless. But I just want to say, we're not powerless. We're not. Somebody who was very vocal about it, someone that I did not know of, K-pop. Okay, everybody by now should know what K-pop is. It's a massive and huge scene, so much loved by people outside Korea, right? Their whole entertainment industry is massive, and it's really so, actually, the way they execute their songs, their music, their productions, everything they do is absolutely amazing. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. Now, there is some K-pop artists who obviously speak out. Check this.
I keep seeing this video.
Palestine! Louder! Free Palestine!
And I came across his interview.
Industry to speak up for Palestine.
People are not talking about it because they don't want to ruin what they have. Yeah, sorry, I get a little heated when I talk about it. It blows my mind that everyone that has a platform hasn't spoken up about it. Not when a whole.
This guy is literally screaming from the tops of his lungs. Like, he so much, like, conviction to it. I just love it, and I just love how he says, "How is nobody speaking?" Like, this is absolutely insane, and there is a lot of this going on. Now, another one that I find very interesting. So we all know Azealia Banks, a crazy lady who does crazy things with the whole chicken and whatnot. And she is, one day she's this, the next day she is that. And somebody tweeted, therefore, and that's why, my beloved Jews, you shouldn't fund every celebrity, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the tweet said, I didn't even write it down or anything to kind of like say it, to give it to you verbatim. But it was something to the effect like, you shouldn't trust every celebrity with your propaganda influencer task, because Mrs. Azealia Banks, who was heavily supporting Israel, especially in the past 2 years, with her Israel flag, with her all of her statements and everything. But when you have people like Azealia Banks who stood out for a lot of craziness, and I want to say I have to. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying it is that 100%, but to me it looks like the girl is mentally heavily challenged, and we don't know what it is. Well, I don't know what it is. I'm never been somebody to look much into Azealia Banks. I've seen an interview with her because at that time, and this is way before, I wanted to know who that girl was that was doing all these crazy things, you know. She already, by the way, performed in 2018 in Israel already. So she was down with that. But now in Israel, she was saying that she wanted to go home. She had a change of heart for some reason. I don't know what she saw. I don't know what she experienced. I do not know what went down. I don't know if we will ever find out. That's on her. Let's see if she shares, if they let her share, or however this turns out, or if she's gonna backtrack. We don't know, but she said that she doesn't want to be there anymore. She wants to leave now. And she wants to go home. She doesn't want to be there anymore, right? And she said that Arabs and Black people are the real Israelites, and they are way more Semitic. And so there's a lot of statements that she made that are very like, okay, girl, what happened? What happened? Didn't the cash what didn't it go through? Did it bounce back, the cash they gave you? Did you get the amount of money that they promised you? Did you really see something happening over there? What could have possibly happened? I mean, maybe Azealia Banks just happened. So I don't know. Another guy who made a lot of who upset a lot of people. Let me say it like this. Okay, this guy upset a lot of people, a whole lot of people. Okay, a guy who goes by the name of Bob Villain with his band. They were recently this summer on the Glastonbury Festival, a huge festival, and he chanted "Deaf, deaf" to the IDF, and he had basically the whole crowd chanting along. He definitely always talks about a free Palestine, also very vocal. And in the BBC at that time, they were broadcasting the Glastonbury, and they were not expecting this. Everybody was scared of Kneecap, so they canceled Kneecap. You guys remember, right? Because Kneecap were also very vocal about a free Palestine on stage. Now, nobody, I guess, expected Bob Villain to be the villain, right? And chant not just only free Palestine, but deaf to the IDF, which could mean many things. Like he's not literally saying and inciting violence to go and tell people to take out the IDF members or whatever. It was, So the BBC person, like when something is live, they're always like a little bit with a delay. So in case something happens, the person can kind of like, mute and then whatever. So this was not possible. They couldn't mute this. They couldn't stop this. So it was broadcasted on TV, and we saw this for, I don't know, weeks on social media. I actually still see it now. People use that sound. You know what I mean?
Who Azealia Banks is, if you're not familiar with her. She is a rapper, a singer, very much pro-Israel. Look at her in her concert draped in an Israeli flag. Just been an extreme outspoken supporter. She's actually in Israel right now. If you might have seen that Tommy Robinson, the British, I think he's trying to run for office. He ran, I think he backed out of the race. But Tommy Robinson, she's in Israel with him, and she actually said this kind of weird. I just want to show you this weird message that she put out there. She says, "The Jews of Britain can't stop panicking. Tommy Robinson is going to Israel with me. Nobody is being a traitor in Britain, LOL. He's coming back."
Okay, you guys. So another thing that we have to talk about, right, is also there is the Maccabees. They were in the Netherlands last year, and it went down after them attacking people, tearing down Palestinian flags, insulting people, chanting death to Arabs while walking through the streets, like football hooligans, right? They do this also at home. They hooligan, the whole time. I don't know what is the verb of hooligans? Like they whatever. Anyways, they are very like pretty happy to be violent. Let's say it this way, right? And they have been taught a lessons by some locals in Amsterdam. I think everybody remembers, right? A lot of us enjoyed it. Anyway, and again, disclaimer: not inciting violence. So there was a game, the same team, the Tel Aviv Maccabees versus Aston Villa. Villa. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, the football, the soccer people. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm not into soccer whatsoever. The only time I'm interested in soccer is the World Cup. By the way, shout out to Morocco. The under-20s won the World Cup, y'all. Okay, just saying. Okay, so I'm sorry. So Aston Villa and Tel Aviv Maccabees were supposed to play in the UK, and the police decided, no, you know what? We want to, set up some boundaries, and in order for it not to be like an uncontrollable situation and make things worse than they are, because the political climate is kind of hot right now, right? And for once the police made the right decisions, these fans ain't coming here. We can't we don't want to take responsibility for this, because this could go extremely left and will probably most definitely go very left, okay? And the UK government, they didn't like it. They had a whole, check this.
Do you stand by the chant, and would you chant that on stage now?
Oh yeah, like what if I was to go on Glastonbury again tomorrow? Yeah, I would do it again. I'm not regretful of it. I'm not regretful of it. I do it again tomorrow, twice on Sundays. I'm not regretful of it at all. Like the subsequent backlash that I've faced is minimal.
Okay, so this is the whole thing. People like this is not the government to decide, right? The government has no say in this. This is the police and what they deem as okay. Can we actually take responsibility? Can we actually deal with all of this, or is this something that is completely something that is could go so bad where things could get so out of hand and people could be maybe extremely in danger, like lives could be in danger, whatever the reason is. They just remembered or figured out about the situation in the Netherlands, and they say, you know what, we don't want this on in our territory here, so we say no. And now this is all anti-Semitic and all of this kind of stuff. And then somebody went and conducted an interview with some locals, from that area, and this is what some of the people had to say.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. After the conflation of anti-Semitism with the banning of football hooligans who happen to come from Israel, and the abuse that I've received and other people who've received for supporting the ban on safety grounds, I must put on record that I and those people are not anti-Semitic, never have been and never will be.
There's so much having to explain and so much having to justify and condemn that as Muslim people we're not anti-Semitic. Everybody, not even just Muslim people, but us for the most part, we always have to say and condemn anti-Semitism. We always have to make sure that we mention that we're not anti-Semitic. It's very, very exhausting. It's very, very exhausting.
On Monday, I went to Aston Villa to speak to the local residents about the ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv fans and the claims from Keir Starmer that it was anti-Semitic. When I got to Villa Park, I ran into some old friends from London.
The violence of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, do you think that the police made the right decision to ban them?
Sure, 100%. They have a history. Everyone knows them as being hooligans and being violent. And it's 100% right, correct, not to let them here in a peaceful, nice, peaceful...
Okay. Let's go back to Gaza. I want you to watch this, you guys. I want you to watch this, you guys. I want you to watch this. So, as I said earlier, the aid has been blocked again. There is no more aid coming in. So, and this is what happens when experts, helpers, doctors, aid workers, anybody comes into Gaza. This is what they have to go through.
We have our bags searched before we go into Gaza. Baby formula is taken out of our bags. Medicine is taken out of our bags. We're banned from even taking in large amounts of money. So, when we go into Gaza, we go there with nothing. And whatever infrastructure is in Gaza, whatever medicines are in Gaza, that's all we have. And, they're systematically destroyed. The leading doctors are either killed, kidnapped, tortured, targeted. And what's coming in through the front door is...
And you know what, you guys? This is so interesting because I get it, right? Everywhere you go, you're going to have to be searched. They're going to have to see, what are you bringing? Do you have any, weapons? Are you bringing any nukes over, or any bombs or anything? Are you working for Hamas, or did anyone, pay you to bring them some, weaponry or anything? I totally get that, right? They have to search the people. I think it's just another level of evil to take away food, money, and medicine. And even money, you could say, okay, you can bribe people, okay, you can do unethical things, which they're doing with money, like billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, but okay. Food and medicine, though? Seriously? That's another level of evil. And just so you know that it keeps coming back up, although I hate corny statements like that, but unfortunately it's so real that it makes it even uncorny. And that is when they say every accusation is a confession. Now, we are always hearing how Muslim people, and especially people in Gaza, talk about teaching children violence, right? We always hear that, they go to summer camp from Hamas and they learn violence there with 3 years old and blah, 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 right? We hear this all the time. How Arabs teach children violence. And this is very telling when somebody of these settlers had this great idea to place a baby in the street so that the aid couldn't pass, the trucks couldn't go through, because they're not about to run over Israeli babies. And if it's, hell will break loose if that happens. They are using a baby. Everything could have gone wrong. What if somebody wouldn't have? I don't know. It's just insane to do that. So now a baby, you could say, is small. They don't know what's really happening and stuff like that. But that baby is going to grow up one day. That baby might be told that story one day. That baby might have, because of social media and everything is so well documented, these kids are seeing this, and that's okay. So for them, it's okay to teach and instill these kind of things into their children. But they accuse the Arabs of teaching their kids violence. Interesting.
Putting their baby in the middle of a street in front of a truck to stop the aid from entering Gaza.
חטופים חללים עדיין שם. אין שום סיבה בעולם שאנחנו נעביר סיוע לחמאס. זהו. אין סיבה. אם חמאס מפר את ההסכם, אנחנו לא צריכים לקיים אותו.
I don't speak Hebrew, but I can pretty accurately translate that this lady said that this aid will never get to Hamas. Also, this extremist Israeli settler in the occupied West Bank today knocked out an elderly...
And as I said earlier, you guys, let's talk about the reconstruction of Gaza.
Reconstruction aid, no reconstruction funds will be going into areas that Hamas still controls. And as far as the demilitarization goes, once the ISF is up, there needs to be a security force that they can feel safe from, that in order for it to be, the transition to be complete. So that needs to happen. There are considerations being happening now in the area that the IDF controls, as long as that can be secured, to start the construction as a new Gaza in order to give the...
You guys see, this is actually what they're doing. This is actually what they're doing. They are working on the Riviera. They want to start by reconstructing the areas where they say is under their control and where Hamas is not in control. They want to start their reconstruction that they have been waiting for and that they have been working on, that they have been turning Gaza into a parking lot for. And it's sickening. And it's disgusting. And they're saying they're doing this for the Palestinians so they can have somewhere to live, somewhere to be, so that they can have jobs. This is not what the Palestinians want. But let me guess, they do not care. And since we're back in Palestine, let's talk about this hostage exchange that I briefly touched on last week. One of the topics I'm most passionate about. The Middle East always does amazing reports in the sense of when they talk about these kind of things. Let's check this out for a second. It's way too long to watch it all, but let's check a little bit out of it.
ضرب والتحقيق والتعذيب والأمور هذه صار على إثرها فقد للبصر.
Gaza's people have suffered through 2 years of Israeli bombardment, but since it stopped, there are other stories of suffering now being told by those who are taken from Gaza and held in Israeli custody. In December last year, an Israeli ground incursion targeted the Kamal Adwan hospital in the far north, calling it a Hamas stronghold.
Okay, you guys, you see the difference? You see the difference in hostages and the exchange. You see how much of a difference it makes. And this is crazy. These people come home and they're not the same person that went in. I did an interview one time with a former prisoner, and he told me, he confirmed it to me. He said, you're definitely not the same person when you come out. Okay, there are people in there that have been there for like since October 7. There are people in there that have been there for 20 years, for 15 years, for 30 years. Under brutal torture. There is not a day where they're not tortured, mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? These people can't pray. These people don't have water. They have water for 1 hour. And then there are so many people that this 1 hour water a day, like barely anyone gets to really shower. When there is like a pipe broken, these people don't have anyone to come and fix it. The water sometimes is up in their cells and in the corridors, and it only gets fixed then when it bothers the Israelis, people who work there, when it gets like to the office of the headmaster of the prison. There's so many of these people who spend years, months, weeks, whatever, in solitary confinement. Okay, these people definitely don't come out the same, and we can see this here. Here are some testimonies from one hostage that was released from Gaza.
They staggered out of the shadows like ghosts returning to the world of the living. On one side of the screen, Western cameras zoomed in on the smiling faces of 20 freed Israeli men. Their names were broadcast, their families profiled, their reunions streamed live. On the other side, out of frame, almost invisible, nearly 2,000 Palestinians were bused to Gaza. No lights, no anchors, no headlines. The contrast was stark.
And when they come out, they don't know anything anymore. Like, so, like, as we saw, right? A lot of them think they are told like the most horrific stories. They told Gaza is gone. They're told nothing about their family members. Some come find out that their family members are not there anymore. Right? Women are still in prison. Children are in prison. And speaking of this, is something I wanted to speak on, and we need to speak on, you guys. And that's why Mohammed Ibrahim, he was captured when he was 15. He's 16 years old. His cousin was killed, okay? And these are American Palestinians with an American passport. They live in America. They came just to visit the West Bank, just to visit their homeland, their families. He was abducted. His cousin was killed. And now this kid is in prison. And who's doing something about it? Where are all the American officials at? Again, another life that nobody cares about, right? A 16-year-old. And he's one of many. One of many. And there's some more. There's some more. There's some more hostages. Here.
Basil's father warns me that his son is emotionally fragile, with huge lapses in memory.
هو ما بعرف أنا إذا بتفهمي يعني كيف الصدمة النفسية عنده. هذا 11 سنة سجن، منهن 7 سنوات انفراد، عزل، لا زيارة، لا كانتين، معاملة سيئة، ضرب.
His detention so devastating, Basil resists his own release.
And as much as I'm passionate about this, it really, really angers me. I get really angry actually when I have to talk about it. But somebody has to talk about these people. We have to, because one thing, right? What I asked, and this is something that always stuck with me. When I asked this guy that I interviewed, what is the one thing that the people told you when you left? And he said they told me to tell their stories and make sure that people know about them. So yes, it's our duty to lift these stories up and these voices up and tell their stories. Now this guy came out and he's mentally not there anymore fully. He's very much impacted. Again, they're physically, mentally, and spiritually impacted by the torture. He resisted. He didn't want to come out. Can you imagine that? That's the paranoia. That's how insane this whole thing made him be. And it baffles me again. It stuns me how people enjoy this. It stuns me how you can execute this type of torture and feel no way. This is inhumane. This is not human behavior. This shouldn't be normal. This shouldn't be condoned. This shouldn't be okay. This shouldn't exist. Beautiful people, that's all I have for this week. That's all I have. So I want to say thank you again for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. And I hope you're back with me next week with a brand new episode. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know what the news will be. I have one particular story that I'm trying to speak about for a whole month, but I didn't get around to it yet. But inshallah, next week we will. Be safe, be good, stay informed, stay blessed, and don't let people bother you. It's not that time. It's not that time. So with that said, have a blessed day and salam alaikum. Peace out.
Searching for some meaning, trying something new. Yeah. People talking loud, everybody's got a take. Scrolling through the headlines, don't know what's real or fake. Late night conversations, what's the truth we chase? World keeps changing pace, but we're all in